What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome to Warriors Latest. I am your host, Max Arizin. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like what you hear, as I do post new Warriors videos daily. Now, it has been an interesting week in Dub Nation, not only because of the Kuminga deal, not only because of the Giddey deal, but because Markkanen has been going off in Eurobasket. Now, he just led Finland to the semifinals. Now, we know that Finland is not known for their basketball players outside of Markkanen. I mean, maybe they have a few, but none come to mind off the top of my head outside of Laurie. Now, how does this affect the Warriors? It affects the Warriors because Laurie is going to have a very good season if he continues to do well in Eurobasket. He has that momentum going into training camp, that leadership style, because with Finland, he's not really working with many great players. With the Jazz, he's working with a lot of great young players, but players that have not evolved and built those good habits within the NBA. And with the Jazz, we don't know what their game plan is. I don't think that they're going to go and chase that 10th seed. They're still looking to bottom out and collect draft picks as well as collect bad contracts to get more draft picks. And it makes me wonder, all right, say Kuminga or the Warriors re-signed Kuminga for that 2-year deal, 45 with the team option. Okay. Now, say the Jazz don't do well come the trade deadline. Okay. Now, the Jazz, they just signed Laurie, as we know, to a $206 million deal just last summer, and now he's in year 2 of that 5-year deal. So it makes you wonder. I'm Danny Ainge. Do I want to keep a guy who's young? He's young, but he's not young. He's 28 years old. He was drafted, I believe, 2017. So he's been in the league a long time. But do you want to hold on to a guy who's really not part of your future? He's just sort of a standing point in your rebuild that you're going to eventually trade away. Do you want to hold on to him, or do you want to move off of him, clear that cap space, continue to take on more money as well as draft picks to draft those franchise players that they so desperately need? Now, they already have what I believe to be a franchise player in Ace Bailey. Now, we know Ace, he pretty much screwed his draft process similar to how Shedeur screwed his. But Shedeur fell back a lot harder than Ace. Ace fell from 3 to 5, I want to say 3 to 5 to the Jazz. So it wasn't that bad, but he was supposed to be a top 3 pick, especially when VJ Edgecombe took his slot at 3 and he slid back to 5. So I was surprised by VJ getting that because Bailey just has such a high ceiling. I think in Utah he's going to reach that ceiling when when the team gives him the opportunity to be the player he wants to be and gives him those good habits. Now, that being said, I can see at the deadline the Warriors, saying, all right, here's Kuminga, here's Moses Moody, here's Buddy Hield, give us Laurie Markkanen. And then Danny Ainge is going to be like, I want a plethora of draft picks. And because the Warriors are in win now mode, they will give those draft picks. Now, that doesn't guarantee those draft picks are going to be good for the Jazz, but Ainge loves to stack his draft picks, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do. So it's an idea for the Warriors to sort of entice Kuminga to come back if they can't find a good deal that works for them right now, or they don't acquire certain players that sort of round out the roster that help them compete for a championship. Like I've said before, I would prefer them to trade Kuminga now, let him get his money, and trade him over to the Suns, get a plethora of second-round picks as well as Royce O'Neal, Nick Richards, and then go out and trade for Kelly Oubre and Andre Drummond just to continue adding to the roster because, let's be honest, you have to be very deep in the modern NBA in order to win a title. You could get away with it like maybe a few years ago, but after how we saw how deep both the Pacers and the Thunder were, and we look at the Rockets as well and how deep they are, we have to actually make an effort to fortify the bench. Yes, we have those incoming free agents once the Kuminga deal is sorted out, but we need to find a way to really just 1 through 12 guys that can contribute like in the idea of next man up. That being said, Kuminga really has a little more leverage right now because of that Giddey deal. Like, we look what Giddey got. They were at a stalemate for pretty much the entire summer, and Giddey got his good deal. He wanted that $25 million. I know he was pushing for 30, but he got a good 25. My only gripe with that deal, not only that the Warriors didn't get him, it's the fact that the Bulls didn't push for 5 years, because I believe he is a great player and a cornerstone. And I believe the same thing about Jonathan Kuminga. I believe he can be a cornerstone with a different franchise, while he can also be a valuable player with the Warriors. He's not going to be that cornerstone that he wants to be in his personal NBA career. He's still going to be that solid contributor to a championship team, but not the nucleus the way that Jimmy, Draymond, and Steph are. But he's still going to be that guy, so which is why I like him. And that's the reason I'm looking at the Kuminga deal. It's like, all right, if he's not going to re-sign with the option, that's okay. Take away the option and still give him the deal. As I said yesterday, he's still a guy that is young. He's still a guy that can prove himself. And if you trade him to another team, they're gonna want a bigger look than just the 2.5 months that they have him before the end of the season if that team doesn't make the playoffs. So having that extra year and a half of team control, I think plays a lot more in the modern NBA than it used to. Yes, cap flexibility is essential in the modern NBA, but knowing what you've got is just as important, especially when these players are young and they've started to prove themselves. I mean, Kuminga still has that championship pedigree. Yes, he won it in his rookie year, but that still counts for something. I think of another player that won it in his rookie year, a little bit of an infamous player in Glenn Big Baby Davis. Now, we know Glenn's in trouble and he's spending a couple years in prison, but back in the day, he was the guy. He had that championship experience, and that championship experience from his time at Boston really played out well in his free agency. He got that big deal with Orlando that put him next to Dwight Howard. And I thought that was going to be great, but unfortunately, things didn't exactly work out, as just Big Baby got even bigger. But I believe that removing that option from Kuminga's deal is going to get it done if they don't want to trade him. And it creates more flexibility come the trade deadline when you're looking to deal him to other teams. They don't just want a rental, because then they have to renegotiate come free agency, and he's going to want an even bigger deal, and that may not work out for the team that's trading him. Yes, a team option is nice to have, but I don't think any team that is going to trade for him is going to exercise that option unless things really, really, really go south. And those kinds of trades don't usually happen at the deadline. The deadline trades are the ones they're going to take you on and then see how things go through next year. And I think once they get Kuminga and he gets in a different environment, if things don't work out with the Warriors, he's going to flourish. So I think just removing that option is just what's going to get that deal done. And on top of that, you're going to get fair value in return. Like I said, they're only getting half value right now trading a restricted free agent through a sign and trade. Even if they gave him $30 million, they're only getting back 15. Now, while I do think that's good in acquiring Nick Richards and Royce O'Neal, along with draft picks right now. If Lauri Markkanen becomes available at the deadline, you gotta be a little more patient, but taking away that option is going to be key. That being said, this stalemate that the Warriors have had with Kuminga have started to make other free agents that are going to sign with the Warriors a little antsy. And that goes for Malcolm Brogdon, Seth Curry, D'Anthony Melton, and even Al Horford. That's 4 players right there. And if those guys decide, hey, I don't feel comfortable waiting into training camp to sign with you, I'll go sign with another team, especially with Horford. Horford is the crown jewel, the smaller crown jewel for this offseason, because he's that stretch four that they've so desperately needed. Now, Horford, he's sort of 50, he wants to be a part of the Warriors. He wants that 2-year deal, but he's still 39 years old, and retirement is still on the table, and you can't wait that long for a guy who's that old. He wants to be ready and have his future set by training camp. So the Warriors need to make something happen in order to get the ball rolling, because if the free agents are getting antsy, especially with Malcolm Brogdon getting seriously looked at by the Timberwolves as well as the Knicks, even though the Knicks, as I've said, aren't as serious, it's just something to be seriously concerned, or excuse me, something to be very concerned about. So the Warriors need to get this stalemate over, remove the option, and sign the rest of their free agents so they can round out the rest of the roster. This team is destined to win an NBA championship if they fill out the roster with the right players. If they don't, it's just another year in the play-in tournament. And I don't want to see that for Steph at all. Now, I know they have Jimmy, and he's been in the play-in tournament and led his team to the finals, but this ain't the Miami Heat. So, Warriors, get it done, because the bottom line is Dubs should remove the option. And as I said, sign the other free agents. This is no longer the time to wait. So, the Warriors know what they need to do. They know what's at stake when it comes to signing Kuminga and signing those other free agents, and they need to get the deal done so they can get those right roster pieces and go after that championship that they so desperately want to win. And I know that they have the ability to get it. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like what you heard. And if you have any other trade ideas outside of Markkanen for Jonathan Kuminga, feel free to comment below, as I love to hear your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.